Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals has arrived. The number 1 Boston Celtics will look to avoid elimination as they host the number 2 Cleveland Cavaliers tonight at TD Garden. Welcome into another Boston Celtics pregame report here on the Boston Celtics newsfeed powered by CLNS. I'm Mike Walsh, once again filling in for Josue Pavone, and I'm joined this brisk New England morning by Worcester, Ohio's own Greg Swartz. Greg, how's it going this morning?
Very good. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Greg is the Cleveland Cavaliers lead writer for Bleacher Report. You can follow him on Twitter at CavsGregBR. Greg's going to help us preview a game that, quite frankly, not many of us saw coming. The last time we had a chance to see a game at TD Garden, things didn't exactly go so hot for the hometown Celtics. When they left Boston down 0-2 in the Eastern Conference Finals, most folks, yours truly included, didn't think they'd be returning. But, Game 3 win and a 24-minute scare for the Cavs in Game 4, and, back to Causeway Street we go. Greg, first off, did you expect to have to cover a Game 5 in this series?
No, honestly I didn't, because, as good as the Cavaliers looked in the second round against the Toronto Raptors, they swept them on the home floor in Canada. I really didn't think this was coming, especially when you looked at Game 1. They were, wasn't really close. They won by 20-plus points. Then Game 2 was absolute beatdown. I thought, man, there's no way that they're going to go home, and lose one of those two games, especially when we got news that Isaiah Thomas was going to be out with a hip injury. Just thought there was no way they were going to do that. But I think in some ways it's not that you want to lose your best player with Boston, but Cleveland's entire defensive plan coming into this series was stopping Isaiah Thomas. And LeBron James talked about, when they trap, when they blitz, that kind of activates everybody else and puts everybody else in motion on the defensive end. And when you take that away, you have to start from scratch with your defense. And clearly Cleveland's looked, lost at times with that. And that's really the main reason we're going back to Boston for Game 5. But, maybe we'll go back to Cleveland too. You never know with this series now.
The story of the last 2 days has obviously been Kyrie Irving and how he took over Game 4. Boston led by as many as 16, but couldn't, put things on ice even with LeBron in foul trouble. So, Greg, was there anything that you saw in particular during that stretch with LeBron on the bench or in the third quarter that changed and allowed Cleveland to sort of take over the game?
Yeah, I was quite concerned when we were in the second quarter and LeBron picked up his third foul and Toronto didn't take LeBron James out. Now, to be honest, that was probably LeBron's decision not to come out at that time, and then he picks up the fourth foul with over 6 minutes left, and he's going to sit at least till halftime, and you're already down 10 at that point. You're like, okay, if you're Cleveland, all you got to do is weather the storm. You don't have to come back and erase this deficit then, but just weather it, and they went into halftime, I think, down those same 10 points. And, that's what they needed. They needed either Kyrie or Kevin or both to step up in the third quarter. Kyrie, we've seen him thrive like that. He's had games of 50-plus points in the regular season with and without LeBron on the court. So he's, one-on-one, he's one of the best offensive players in the league today. I went into the series saying that he might even have kind of a downer series because of how good Avery Bradley is as a defender. Bradley defends Irving possibly the best of anyone I've seen in the league. He matches up well with him size-wise, speed-wise, physical-wise, and it's not that Bradley played bad defense on him. Irving was so good in his ball handling and his getting to the basket and his, kind of levitating in the air and then getting a shot up at the last second. And he did part of that on a twisted ankle too, which I thought was amazing. So we'll see how he looks now in Game 5 coming off that because adrenaline was carrying him in Game 4. So we'll see how fresh he looks on that ankle in Game 5.
Right. So in Boston, you may not know this, but fans go nuts for sort of the defensive prowess of guys like Avery Bradley and Marcus Smart. And I honestly got to a point earlier this week where calls start coming in and, people start the conversation once again that are the Celtics better without Isaiah Thomas, which, obviously is not true. However, as touted as Bradley is defensively, and we all remember that the final play of the Cavs game where Boston got their only win in the regular season where he sort of, manned up on Kyrie and shut him down on the game winner. Kyrie, I did some research this morning, and Kyrie's last 3 games, he's shooting 33 of 48. That's nearly 69%. So does it just not matter when he gets this hot? Is there no stopping him?
No, I mean, there's not. And, I don't think, for the record, I don't think the Boston Celtics are a better team
No, of course not.
Isaiah Thomas. I don't think that at all. They talked coming into Game 3. Brad Stevens talked pregame about how they're probably a little bit better defensively. They're bigger defensively, obviously, when you put Marcus Smart in there. But I mean, Marcus Smart going 7 of 10 from 3 in Game 3 is something that may never happen again in his career. I don't think it's any secret he's not the world's best offensive player. And look how good Isaiah Thomas was in the fourth quarter for the Celtics this year. I mean, how many games did he just throw the team on his back and carry them to a win? Absolutely not. They're not a worse team with Isaiah Thomas. I don't want to say that by any means, but Cleveland went into the series game planning for Isaiah. And it's kind of caught him off guard that, okay, Isaiah's not there now. Now we have to change up what we want to do defensively. If they would have came into the series with the game plan that Isaiah wasn't going to play, I think it would have been completely different. I don't think Boston would have got a win that time. It's because of the sudden change of defense. They had to switch up their defense on the fly. I think that's the reason that, with Boston maybe looked so good in Game 3 and parts of Game 4 without Isaiah. But, obviously he's the best player for them, and he's the one that Cleveland and Toronto was up, the sleepless nights trying to defend. So I think they're clearly a better team with Isaiah.
Sure. Real quick break to tell you guys about a contest we're running. If you didn't know, in June of this year, CLNS Media will be launching a brand new website. To celebrate CLNS Radio's relaunch as CLNS Media, we're giving away an authentic Bill Russell autographed Spalding basketball. Enter at clnscontest.com. That's clnscontest.com. Contest ends June 7th, 2017. Spread the word, share with your friends, and get bonus entries. My guest this morning is Greg Swartz of Bleacher Report. This morning, Greg posted a story titled Cleveland Cavs Praying More Kevin Love Touches Will Net Another NBA Title. In that piece, Greg, you really hit on something that I think is an underplayed aspect of Game 4, and that's Kevin Love's rebounding. It seemed to me in the first half of Tuesday's game, the Celtics were actually the more physical team, and I mean, quite honestly, they looked like they were bullying and pushing the Cavs around. However, you look at that final box score and you see Love with 17 rebounds, and obviously Kyrie's offense is going to get a huge amount of credit for getting Cleveland rolling in that second half. But are we overlooking something that the Cavs found with Love against the Boston Bigs?
Well, it seemed to me that Boston's primary objective in the paint was to keep Tristan Thompson off the glass. Thompson is Cleveland's best offensive rebounder. He's been terrific in the playoffs the past 3 years. He doesn't give you a lot of scoring. He's not the world's greatest shot blocker, but he's an excellent pick-and-roll defender. He's an excellent offensive rebounder. He can guard a lot of different positions on the court. He can switch on a couple of guys. And it seemed like that was Boston's plan. Is okay. We're going to try to keep Tristan Thompson off the glass. We can't keep Love and Thompson off, so we're going to focus on Tristan. And that really helped Love. He had 17 rebounds in Game 4, and I noted Al Horford has 18 rebounds in this series. Yep. So if you look at 4 games, Al Horford has 18 rebounds. Love almost out-rebounded him in 1 game. And I said that was a matchup probably going in that the Celtics want to exploit. Because Kevin Love's got a reputation. He's not the world's greatest defender, although he has improved. And I don't think we notice that. We give him enough credit. So that's one thing in the article is look at the job that Love has done, particularly against Al Horford, because especially in the first 2 games when you're looking at the Cavaliers were blitzing Isaiah, that activates all the bigs. So on one play, Kevin Love might have to come out to the 3-point line and help trap. Then he has to rotate back down to a big. He might have to rotate onto a wing that's penetrating. And I think he's done a really good job. And Al Horford is probably Boston's second best player. You could answer that better than I could. His contract would certainly deem that he would be the second best, and he does so many good things for them in terms of passing and shooting, and he's that veteran leader. And really, he's had a pretty quiet series. Scoring-wise, hasn't been great. He's only shooting about 44% from the field. And I think a lot of that is give Kevin Love credit. And rebounding has been great, scoring has been great, but really defensively, I think he's done a good job on Al Horford, and that's been huge for the Cavaliers in taking a 3-1 lead in the series. All
right, Greg, last question. We'll get you out of here on this one. Does this series go back to Cleveland, or do the Cavs close things out tonight in Boston?
I could be wrong, but I think the last time the Cavaliers had a chance to clinch a series and didn't was 2009. Now that's also 4 years there where they didn't make the playoffs. So that's fine. So let's be fair there. But yeah, that's going back. quite a few series. Typically, a LeBron James team, when they smell that blood in the water, they take care of business when it's a chance to clinch a series. So, I think the Cavs will win tonight. I think it'll be a lot closer, certainly, than the first two games were in Boston. The Celtics are a team that are obviously well coached. They're one of the best coaches in the league. Cleveland players all throughout the series have credited Brad Stevens. They've gone out of their way to compliment him and the plays that he's thrown up, especially after timeouts. And this is a Celtics team that, look, they got nothing to lose. And, they kind of played timid the first two games. They didn't know how they were going to stack up, and they got their butts whooped, and then they came out in Game 3 and had nothing to lose and won. And Game 4 certainly played well, too. So I think this is going to be a close game. I think ultimately, LeBron's probably a little healthier now than he was in Games 3 and 4, and I think the Cavs are going to finish him off tonight, but I think it's going to be a close game.
Thanks so much to Greg Swartz for joining me this morning. You can read all of Greg's stuff, including this morning's Cleveland Cavs praying more Kevin Love touches will net another NBA title on Bleacher Report. Follow Greg on Twitter at CavsGregBR. That's CavsGregbr. It's playoff season, and having the right players on the court will be the key to success. That sharp outside shooter or power rebounder can be the difference between winning and losing. And guys, business isn't any different. Your company needs the right people to be the best. So where do you go to find the top talent? At ZipRecruiter.com, you can post your job to 100-plus job sites with one click. Then their powerful technology efficiently matches the right people to your position. Right now, my listeners can start forming their own winning team on ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. That's ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. Try it for free today at ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. That's going to do it for this edition of the Celtics pregame report. Thanks to Greg Swartz of Bleacher Report for joining me. And thanks to each and every one of you out there for downloading another CLNS Newsfeed pregame show. Tonight's postgame show will air immediately following Game 5 action on CLNSradio.com. You can call in toll-free to 347-215-7771 after the game to get on the airwaves, or you can listen on demand anytime, anyplace, anywhere on the CLNS mobile app. Be sure to also check out the Garden Report after the game on the CLNS YouTube channel at youtube.com/CLNSmedia for all the raw and uncut videos from the locker room and postgame press table, as Jared Weiss and the crew will be right on the TD Garden floor. We'll hopefully see you again Saturday morning to preview Game 6. Weekday shows of the Celtics pregame report air on the Celtics Newsfeed channel on iTunes, Stitcher, and, of course, the CLNS mobile podcast app. For today's Boston Celtics pregame report, this has been Celtics Newsfeed manager Mike Walsh signing off.